he, him, and I am the director of the show.
John, you want to pass it to someone else?
Let's go, Carolina.
Hello, my name is Carolina Pérez. I play Señora Costa, and I'm having so much fun.
So good. Pass it on to someone else, Carolina.
Pass it to my Señor Sergio.
Hello, my name is Sergio Davila San Jose, and I play Señor Costa, the father and the husband of this beautiful woman, Carolina.
Thank you. Want to pass it on to somebody else?
I pass it to Salma.
Hello, my name is Salma Zepeda, she, they, and I perform the ever so fun Belmira. So I'll pass it on to Kailyn.
Hi, I'm Kailyn Erb, she, her, and I am the costume designer for the River Bride. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Arturo.
Hi, I am Arturo Montes, and I play Duarte, the groom-to-be. And I will pass it to the love of my life, who was the love of my life, Marisa.
Hi, my name is Marisa Lopes, and I play Helena. Back to you, Becky.
Very nice. And when Arturo introduced himself, we all went, ooh. So that was cute. It's so wonderful to have so many of you here tonight. I've also brought a bunch of photos from our company photographer, Christian Pizzarani. Some of them you guys haven't seen yet, so that's kind of fun. So from time to time, I will show them on the screen. I just wanted to start out with a really lovely team shot of everybody here. And this is just a terrific shot. We've got our cast and crew. We have our executive artistic director, Lisa Millette, down in front. We have all of our designers. And I was just seeing if Marisa is, which way she is she profiled or is she pointing to the side so we can see any kind of giveaway? If you've seen the show tonight, you'll know what I'm talking about. Love this photo. So beautiful. John, will you start us off? You speak so beautifully about what this play means to you on a personal and an artistic level. I know you feel very connected to the works of the playwright. Tell us a little bit about what brought you into the River Bride.
Yeah, thank you. Being Brazilian myself, it's always special when you can tell a story that is based on folklore of your own land, you know, and there are a lot of Latinx stories from other parts of the diaspora that get told, and you know, some nations, some communities, some cultures get represented more than others, and it's always really fun for me personally when a Brazilian story comes along. So that was the initial draw, of course. Also, I've had the good fortune to direct another work of Marisela's, Somewhere, her post-apocalyptic play that I had a lot of fun with, and it just gave me this insight into how much of a poet she is. She's got a poetry background, and brings a lot of that mentality and that expertise into her work. The cast knows that there are no wasted words in her show. Everything is impeccable. It's exactly placed as it's meant to be placed, and she's very deliberate about that. And she says a lot with each syllable. So from an artistic standpoint, that's just really a lot of fun as a director to be able to have that as your palette, you know, and be able to paint with those colors, because she's very, very deft with what she's able to give you. So yeah, those are just a couple little reasons.
Yeah, I was not surprised at all to read that she had begun as a poet, because
Yeah.
it's just, it shines through. I mean, there are no wasted words. Exactly.
Right.
And I imagine that must be for the actors, this must be lovely and wonderful for you as actors, but also challenging because it's poetry and maybe it doesn't sound necessarily like how people speak. And so your challenge is to put those words in the mouths of your character and help propel the play along, while at the same time, like, I feel like I would just want to stop and savor everything I was saying because it's so beautiful. I would love to hear from some of you, the actors, what some of your favorite lines are. Do you have a favorite moment that you, at Marissa's looking up and thinking, I have 100, how do I choose? Do you, any of you actors, do you have favorite moments, favorite lines that just jump out at you?
I actually, it's not my favorite, but it's the one that hits me the most. And it's the very ending when Elena's saying that I will not love him, not like I should, because he's in love with the other guy. And it represents to me that sometimes love is not meant to be. You know, it's just part of life. And you have to accept it and let it go for whatever reason, either your decisions or circumstances in life. But it hits me every single show. It hits me because I'm back there on stage listening to her, and she says it in a very deep way that it hits me. So it's not my favorite part, but it's the one that I remember the most because it's truth, and the truth might be painful sometimes.
Yeah, not like I should. It's very simple, but yeah, I agree. And then on the other hand, the Costas, you have this wonderful love story that is so beautiful. My husband, Sergio, loved your monologue so much about your first meeting and seeing your wife. And that was his favorite part of the whole play. I'm like getting goosebumps thinking about it. It was so beautiful. I think I need to jump ahead and show this photo because I love this photo. You've seen this one.
My wife, how much I love her.
There's so much joy in this picture. And you've seen this photo before because I've used it a lot as a publicity photo because it's just lovely. It's really, really lovely. Ah, I love that so much. I would love to hear a little bit more now that we're talking about this from Sergio and Carolina. We'll get to the sadder stuff later, but Sergio and Carolina, about how your characters, you really have this love story. And I would love to hear a little bit more about that. Carolina, how much does your character love her husband?
Oh, I feel like, well, I feel like this is when I first started getting involved with the River Bride, and then they're like, oh, it's a love story. And then after the first read, I was like, what? That's not a love story. It's like so heartbreaking. What is this? But then the more because again, there's so many layers in the book after you read the script, after you read it more and more, and then you start getting the importance of those words. And I just felt like, oh yeah, the love story is the Senor Costa and the Senora Costa. They do have their love forever thing going on, and it's like this love that the world is falling apart, but we have each other, so whatever. She is madly in love with this man. She's just so happy, content, She's just content. And I feel that what helped me in my character is that I do love this man. I love this man with so much love. We have a beautiful, long relationship over 20 plus years that is so effortless to love him that much. I feel like, yes, that really helps. And I feel that, it's really beautiful to find that love and that it responds to you, so I feel like that's the journeys of all of our lives, to have that. And Senor and Senora Costa, they have that. Whatever they didn't listen, they just really love each other. And it's beautiful. The daughters are fighting all the time, but whatever, I have my husband.
And we want those daughters to find that. And
Yeah, and I feel like in the beginning that was hard for me. And again, you know, I have like my ideas and the love and all of that stuff, and I have my own daughter. So it was kind of like, oh wow, this lady just really want them to get married, and you know, like how crazy is that, you know? But then it's like, well, it's not just that she wants them to be married; is that she wants them to really have what she has,
Yeah.
and that's in every country and everywhere, you know, in the world. I feel like a mother only wants that big love for their daughters.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Absolutely.
spoke too much.
No, it's good. I love it. Anybody else want to jump in and talk about a favorite moment in the show? A favorite line that maybe you have, a favorite monologue?
This is a my line. This isn't my line. This is a my line.
Your mother. Yes.
I think my friend came to see it, and he's a childhood friend. And I love him with all my heart and soul. But he's only done theater, I guess, more so in high school. So whatever he does see, you know, either whether it's like an obscure production or whatever, you know, he has a bit of a theatrical background, but more so just like an average everyday kind of a person. And he just like almost sobbed at Mai's line of, "You've loved once. It shows you that you can love again." Right? I'm paraphrasing that. I'm so sorry. I'm backstage. And he was just, and I was like, "What about the ending?" And he was like, "Yeah, it was sad, but that one was the one that really choked him up." And then I've been backstage for that line for so long, and yes, I've been taking it in, but I didn't take it in until after he said that to me. And this past weekend, that, you know, I'm backstage for the Duarte line to, you know, sort of annoy my fiance. But that line, I feel like that almost like it encapsulates the whole play.
Ah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? That, I mean, you've already loved once, so don't, you know, don't hesitate and don't be too eager as well. You know, it's a sort of inner confidence of like, love's gonna come, so don't rush it. Because, you know, Mai's father never rushed her. And then also don't jump for it too soon, because you're not gonna get it.
It is a beautiful line. And she says it with such softness and really and kindness. Yeah, you're kind of everyone's mom, aren't you?
Just a Carl fan, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That's lovely. I want to show another couple of photos that you haven't seen yet. This one kind of, I sort of laughed because I was like, how'd they all fit in the house? Ron
Very
Gasparnetti's
practical.
beautiful set. Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead. What?
We're very practical.
You're very practical, I know. Ron Gasparnetti's beautiful set just kind of brings you in, and this is a close-up. You can just see the house, but I didn't notice until that scene. I was like, there's a lot of them in there. I also love how you can see the different colors of Kaylyn's costumes here. It just, everything just pops, pops, pops. And against also Spencer Matubang's beautiful lighting. It's all gorgeous. While we were talking about Duarte, I have Duarte. I love this one. I don't know exactly what's happening there, but it looks like kind of a lovelorn. Arturo, do you know what's happening at that moment?
Oh yes. Yes, I think I do. This is the moment, the two moments. I think this is actually the first idea that I'm getting, which is right when they pull out the fish, I'm supposed to look dumbfounded, kind of confused. It might be that moment, or I don't know. You know, you would think as an actor, I know what faces I make and what emotions I'm going. I think that's just what am I going through? There's a complexity there.
It's a beautiful photo.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think at this point they've pulled out the fish, and I am looking at Moises and figuring out how he did that.
Nice.
This stranger who I personally don't really trust yet somehow did the impossible, did what the man I look up to has done for years, and suddenly this stranger comes in and does the exact same thing, and almost a sense of concern too that this is happening, and this is, yeah, it's a really good shot. Wow, I didn't know we got a shot like that.
Well, you all will get copies of all the photos when we're done, so yay. Yeah, Mysterious Moises is not here with us tonight, unfortunately, but we can't have everyone. But I have a nice shot of him that I'll pull up next. And speaking of gorgeous lighting, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. And the colors of each scene, I mean, the way sometimes they just pop from one scene to the next, and it's so vivid. And this Kaylin, this dress, oh my goodness, beautiful, gorgeous dress. I'm going to remove spotlight so we can see Kaylin. Kaylin, tell us about, is this one of the dresses that you made, or this is one of the dresses that you found? Does it have a story behind it?
It's actually a dress that we sourced, and there is a story behind this dress. There was originally a different dress that we had planned for this look. And it was going to be custom made to Salma's measurements, and it was gorgeous and it was great. And it was from like a small vendor on Etsy. And this is like part of the joy of theater and having really hard set dates that not everyone in outside theater land fully comprehends. The vendor messaged me after we had this long conversation about like, it has to be to this size and I need it by this day so that we can fit it and do alterations if we need to, and test it with the shoes and test it on the dock and under the lights and all this stuff, right? So the vendor messages me, hey, we went on a holiday for a week. The dress won't be ready until a week after you open your show. Well, that just sure isn't going to work.
No.
So in the span of 2 hours, there was a frenzy to try to find another wedding dress for Palmyra. And this is actually originally, it's a prom dress, and it was on sale. So we lucked out that we found this really beautiful dress that had all this gorgeous beading that really, you can't super see it in this photo because Ricardo's arm is kind of blocking her midsection, but
There you go.
it cascades and swirls across the body, similar to how waves move. And with the beautiful lighting work that our lighting designer did, it just refracts the light so beautifully on stage. And I would say, compared to the original dress that we had, this one is like infinitely better. I think it suits Belmira's character way more. It's one of those like kind of happy endings to like what could have been sort of a disastrous thing. And so thanks, Etsy vendor, for not coming through, because instead we got this really awesome dress that just looks so beautiful with the other work that the other designers did.
It is gorgeous. Beautiful stuff. Thank you for the story. It's true. It's like our deadlines, you can't move them. The show's opening. We sold the tickets. We can't wait an extra week for that dress, honey. But silver linings, right? Very nice. You're speaking of Belmira. I want to show another Belmira photo that I really like here. This is sweet. Salma, how is Belmira feeling at this exact moment?
I think the picture says it all.
I love that. I love
Oh.
it. I just love the look on your face. It's so sweet.
I didn't know I was making that face.
It's lovely.
But I love the face. I think it's very Belmira.
Mira.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's everything she wants. And I don't even, I think she does want the man and she does want the romance, but whoever the man and the romance come from, she's not necessarily picky. So when she sees him, perhaps she's not in that tunnel vision just yet of, oh, this can be my husband, but there is a tunnel vision of, this is a person who can benefit me. And this is a person not only that can benefit me, but a person that, I haven't seen before in this village, who's just fascinating. And whether or not he can benefit me, by being married to me, or benefit me of like, I want to see how he looks. I want to see how he acts. How many times do I get to see a rich, handsome stranger pop up?
You don't see strangers very often in that village, I wouldn't think.
No, well, maybe the sequel.
All right. So while we've got you, actually, let me turn this off so I can see what I'm doing here. There we go. We have a question that just popped up in the chat. And then we're going to jump over to Marisa because we haven't heard from you yet. And I have some lovely photos of you as well. Michael, thank you for the question. Michael has a good question here. My wife and I, and I'm reading this because those of you watching on YouTube, of course, won't see the Zoom chat. So there you go. My wife and I talked about it after the show. What do you all think happened to Belmira at the end? Did she drown? Did she turn into a dolphin? Is she now a boto? Can you offer your perspective? Salma's raising her eyebrows, and I'm not sure she's going to tell us what she thinks. But if anyone would like to speak to that question, now's the time.
Someone else go.
Someone else who's not Belmira. Does someone else have a theory?
I have a
John?
really crazy theory.
Oh, bring it, yeah.
I like to imagine that she did turn into a dolphin, and then like animals do, they had dolphin babies, and then the second part of the story, there's actually a random toddler that walks into the village.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Mysterious toddler.
Mysterious toddler, not mysterious man, not mysterious toddler. That befriends the toddler of Duarte and Elena. So then now there's like a, even more. Yeah. That's my very absurd.
How nice, Duarte.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming.
The cast does have a unified stance on what we all think happens at the end of the play, but we love that there is some open-endedness to that also. That there could be several different meanings, right? Or endings to this tale, this fable, because there's always supposed to be some sort of moral, right, at the end of a story like this. So if it seems a little bit open-ended, then that's kind of exciting to me, I think. I don't know.
I can, as a not actor person, can share sort of my thoughts on this because I don't even know what the cast's unified thoughts are on what happens to them at the end. I like to imagine that the original dolphin does return to his dolphin way of being, and that Belmira is changed, but perhaps she's not changed into a dolphin because she does not strike me as a lonely person. And a lot of what we hear from Moises is how lonely he is. So perhaps she's changed into a different animal that resides in the Amazon, and perhaps it's not one that can travel as far as perhaps a dolphin might be able to. So in the end, she doesn't quite get her wish of being able to leave the Amazon. But her life is different, as Moises says at the end.
Well, she's certainly looking for adventure. And she's got there's something adventurous happening to her. Interesting.
I love that take, Kaylin.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know if I want to be the one to reveal the unified stance, but I will say this. I think, and I've discussed this with Ricardo, our mysterious man, who couldn't be present today, but we always notice right before we're about to run off and leap off, the audience's reaction or lack thereof, or whether it's medium or high, or whether it's a laugh or a, oh, and I think that's kind of, it's nice. It's nice what John said, where it's kind of leaving you wondering for a minute, and I think me and Ricardo, once we go off stage, we're just like, oh, they get it. Or we're like, ooh, they might not get it, but they know something bad happening. Or they're like, oh, well, we know this audience, Belmira gets her comeuppance and they like it. At least for these people. But yeah, I think the range of reactions from the audiences right before the jump is really interesting. And I think really telling in terms of how open-ended the ending is. So
Definitely. Yeah, I'm sure you're getting some very interesting audience reactions overall from the show. And it's nice because it's less well known. So I think some people, I mentioned my husband who loves Senor Costa's monologue. He was not familiar with the show, was not familiar with the River Dolphin folklore, and was just kind of swept away by the whole thing. He was just really caught up in it and did not know what to expect, had no idea what to expect. And I think that's really lovely too. And a gift, a joyous gift that you get when you do a show that not everyone knows. So, Marisa, we haven't heard from you, and I want to pop up a really nice photo of you that I love from the towards the end of the show. Again, gorgeous lighting, the costume's beautiful, and it's just like, oh, it's such a pretty moment. And I feel like, do we ask her what's happening at that moment? But we're kind of giving away everything anyway. I want to show another one too. I really, really like this one as well. So beautiful. Marisa, I have a particular question for you, and I'm going to bring myself out of this, and then we'll jump back in that dress a little bit longer because I want to ask Kailyn about it. Oh my goodness. There's so many buttons on my screen. I read in your bio in the program that you said that one of the joys of this show is that it connects you with your own Portuguese heritage. And I wondered if you were familiar with the folklore. Do you speak the language? There is a lot of Portuguese in the script. Tell us about your connection with it.
So whenever I see an audition for a show that has some Brazilian in it, I go for it. I'm not from Brazil, I'm from Portugal, but it's adjacent, and there's not many shows that are written with the Portuguese language. So anything that I can do, I will do. And I feel like this show, I was meant to be a part of it, in any kind of way. And every time that I perform it and every time I talk about it, it just feels really right. And it might be because it has some of my culture in it. And I get to speak the language, and I'm just very proud to be up there sharing my culture with everyone. I did not personally know about the Boto fairy tale from Brazil. Yeah, I know a lot about Brazil, but not too much about the folklore. So I was learning as well as everyone else. I feel like for us in Portugal, or at least like in the Azores, it's 9 small islands. So there's a lot of religion. They use a lot of religious to get throughout life, for their crops, for their children. And I feel like a lot of our folklores have to do with religion over there. So I'm not too sure about Brazil. But yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I wasn't familiar. I did a little reading and I talked to John about some of the mythology, and it was darker than I expected. I've always thought of dolphins. I know, look at Arturo's nodding. I mean, I always thought of dolphins as sort of this not gentle, or maybe, you hear stories of dolphins helping people who are shipwrecked, and there's some dark stuff going on in these stories that I did not expect. Arturo, what are you thinking of right now when you're making that face? I want to know.
Well, I have a Brazilian friend. He's actually from Brazil, and I was telling him this story, and I won't go into full detail of what he told me because it's really scary. But he was talking to me, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm in a show, and it's actually about botos and dolphins, and it's Brazilian." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I've heard that one before." I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "Yeah, that one's actually used to scare little girls to just not talk to strangers at all." And I was like, "Oh, it's one of those cautionary tales." So, I mean, what he grew up hearing was like, yeah, it was not this love story, but if it was really leaning into like the scary aspect of it, just like in Mexico, we have like La Llorona, just to make sure kids don't go out at night, don't do anything stupid. It's like the same concept. But he was telling me it was a lot grimmer. The tales that he was hearing were a lot grimmer and really had a lot of scare tactics to really get little Brazilian girls to just not go out and not trust random strangers, which, I mean, man, woman, they, them, you shouldn't trust like stranger at all. But I was very surprised when I heard his take on it, because his take was much grimmer than what we were all used to reading this play. But still, the play ends with conceptual like taking of a daughter, and yeah, I mean, dolphins do some stuff. I think we did actually talk about how smart yet how malicious dolphins can be. I think we had that conversation in rehearsal once.
Interesting.
And dolphins are the smartest animals yet. A little too smart, I think.
And I think John used that very phrase, cautionary tale, when I first talked to him about the play. I remember you saying that. Not all fairy tales have happy endings.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And there are fairy tales in all sorts of different cultures, not just South American, not just Brazilian. You read Aesop's fables or stories from the Brothers Grimm. There are definitely cautionary aspects to those as well. And yeah, this is a stranger danger story at its core. That is really what it is.
How did I not use that in the marketing?
You still have a week. We can
I
still.
do. I'm still awake. Stranger danger.
Yeah, stranger danger. But yeah. I think that it's in addition to being this beautiful and heartbreaking and like delicately crafted love story, it also has this darkness and this there's an element of the threat, right? And we represent that a few different ways throughout the show. All of our actors do a really good job at not giving anything away, to keep the audience leaning in any number of ways. I've been in the audience a couple different times throughout the run, because that's a great show and everyone should come see it. And it's really cool, sort of breathing along with the audience and trying to figure out the ways in which they're picking up on the different clues that are getting dropped throughout the show, because there is this like little mysterious element. There's a little bit of a mystery to the show that you have to follow and sort of like unpack it and put your magnifying glass on some stuff in order to figure it out, and follow this character from point A to point B and figure out what's going on with them. And that's a really interesting way to watch a play. And that's another way in which Marisela does such a good job, by giving us those little Easter eggs at various points, but not telling too much of anything at any given point. And that is what makes a story that feels classic, like any of those fairy tales that we've grown up with, regardless of our culture. I guarantee that there's at least one that feels a little bit like this. That's like the stranger danger story. And she nails it. She nails that feel. And it's very cool to be a part of something so quintessential as that.
I love the expression you use, breathing along with the audience. But it is true. I mean, anyone who has performed on stage knows that a quiet audience can mean any number of things. It doesn't mean they're bored. It can mean they're listening. It can mean they're on the edge of their seat. And if you're in there breathing it, or you're on stage, that you can feel that energy coming back to you, and you can kind of feel what they're feeling. Yeah, it was what Salma was saying, the kind of reaction that you get from the audience each night before that climactic moment at the end. Like, did they get it? What did they? And it's different every night. I mean, that's the beauty of live theater, right? Did any of you have any surprising responses from audience members after shows that people come up to you and said like, oh, and then you thought, I never interpreted it that way. I didn't know they'd think of that. All right, well, think about it. If you have another one, if you have an idea.
I will say, I think one of the things we run into pretty often, or at least I have, I'm sure others have, for us, I know especially Sergio thinks that this is like a really sad story. It ends and it's really sad, and there's all this crying at the end, because Marisa, I don't know how she does this, but she's just like flipping the switch, and she can go into tears. Yeah. She has a little pre-ritual for that. I don't know if she's told anyone, but she told me not to mess with her before that scene so she can get into that moment.
We can talk about rituals in a minute. That's a good one.
But I walk out, and I'll talk to one or two people, especially people that I know. I'll be like, this is a really sad story, right? Like, did you enjoy it even though it was a sad story? That's how I usually start the conversations with them, because it's the last thing we saw was the sadness of it. Yeah. And they're like, No, it actually really wasn't that sad. It was kind of fun. I really enjoyed it, and it was really good. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, nobody's actually walking out of the theater in tears, right? But they acknowledge the sadness in it. But everybody's like, it's a really good story, and it actually ends on a semi heartwarming note where, it's reassuring that love sometimes happens like that. And I
Yeah.
don't think I've actually had anybody walk up to me and be like, oh, that was such a sad story, and I thought it was sad, and it's like, no, it's amazing to see and hear all these people who are like smiling and saying good job while we walk outside, while I see Sergio in the back, like grasping at his chest, at his heart, and almost crying every single time Marisa goes out there. Such a fun experience. Yeah. I am selling every.
Oh, you cut out. What'd you say there?
I said I am gonna, yeah, I will share things about what I see backstage if I need to.
So it sounds like, Sergio, you're still very moved by the story every night, even after being part of it for so long.
Yeah, every night is that
Every
that
night.
line of Marisa
Yeah.
saying, why didn't you wait for me? I should have wait. I would have wait for you, and I will not love him. It hits me. I guess, I don't know. I interpret it as that many people leave the theater not really in tears. They know it's sad, but if you have gone through that road, I think it hits you more. So that's where it hits me a lot. Every single time when she says this, and I know she's crying, so it puts me right there on the pier. I am the one saying that, just to the night, to the moon. It hits me every single night, and I hate it. I hate it.
I didn't expect you to say that.
I do. I don't like it because it hits me. I don't want it to feel it, but I feel it.
Marisa and that darn talent, she just.
I will say the line for me in that monologue is when I say, maybe I didn't deserve happiness. Like, it still shocks me that I say that every night. And it feels weird coming out of my mouth because I think deep down, a lot of us have that thought, like, maybe I don't deserve to be happy. But she's so strong. She's so strong. She puts her pride aside and does what she can to help others and to make her family happy as she can make them. I think that she should learn to pour some of that love into herself, but that's the sequel to River Bride with all our theories in it. But yeah, that line just like, every night I'm like, I can't believe I'm saying that. And I don't think that's something that we ever like say out loud when we're having these moments. I know for me as an actor, sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? We all have those doubts about our career. And I'm like, should I even keep doing this? Like, maybe I don't deserve to do this. And that can be a thought that you have, and then you push it away and you say, I deserve to do what I love and I deserve to be happy. I'm going to grab my emotional support dolphin for this because it's getting sad. We like to have these backstage. It represents us.
And yeah, you do. And they have popped up on our social media as well. Well, we're getting closer to 8, but we're doing okay. I want to get back to you, I will, in a minute about the flower dress, and I want to talk to Kailyn about that, but we're almost segueing into another thing I wanted to ask about, which was if any of you artists have pre-show rituals or lucky charms backstage, because Arturo alluded to that, and I almost feel like the pink dolphins have become the mascots or the lucky charms backstage. Does anyone have an element of a pre-show ritual that you like to share? I think that's really interesting for our audiences.
Personally, I do. I put my little AirPods in. I only have one in backstage, but I listen to it for like literally a minute to 2 minutes, however long I have backstage before I have to go back on stage. And I listen to Taylor Swift songs, really sad songs. But the reason they're so sad is because I remember listening to them for the first time in my life at a point where they meant a lot to me. Thankfully, that was like 2 years ago. I'm no longer in that headspace, but it really helps me get into the epilogue scene.
Mm.
Because, you know, you can't just turn on those emotions immediately. It definitely takes some prep work. I think it'd be cool if I could just turn them on and have the waterworks, but that's not how it works for me. So I listen to some Taylor Swift songs.
The music gets you there. Yeah.
It gets me there. Yeah, music means a lot to me. It's how I get, you know, it's what I listen to if I'm having a bad day or if I need to get in a better mood. For that, I listen to a lot of Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift. And so much. Sometimes backstage, like our dressing rooms are really close to each other, so we just like play music and we can hear what the other side is listening to. So like sometimes I'll play a certain artist and then I hear Ricardo singing. Or Arturo is playing something like from the last 5 years. So then I start. We had a karaoke session the other day. We sang "Feed Me" (parentheses) Get It from from Little
Nice.
Shop of
Little
Horrors.
Shop.
I started off as the plant. Arturo was Seymour, and then we switched halfway.
Okay.
But we definitely love to
Take
sing
a minute to hear
backstage.
that.
It was
Nice.
rough, but it was a good time. That's all that matters.
Keep this in mind for future season planning. I'm just saying.
All right, we will stick in our back pocket. Anybody else have a pre-show ritual you want to share? That was great, Marisa. Thank you.
I think one of my favorite pre-show rituals that I don't actually like do myself, that somebody else does, that reminds me that I'm in the show, is when our stage manager Michelle comes to the back and looks at the sign-in sheet and then yells out everybody's name who hasn't signed in and asks us if we are alive. And then she'll sign us in and I'll be like, oh, that's right, I'm doing a show.
Nice. Michelle saying, one of our best stage managers. Shout out, definitely. Anybody else have a ritual they want to share? That's okay if you don't, because I want to jump back to that beautiful dress that Marissa's wearing. This is so gorgeous. Kaylin, I heard a rumor that you made it all from scratch.
Yes, you heard right.
Tell us about it. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you. This dress is really for Helena. It's a very important dress. So she wears this off stage at Belmira and Dorte's wedding banquet the night before the wedding. And she talks about it in this scene where she's wearing the dress, sort of her last attempt to get his attention, to maybe change the tides of fate. So she's wearing something that is bridal reminiscent without pulling too much attention from her sister, because she's not one to, probably like most older sisters, the eldest daughter in families, Marisa talked about it so beautifully, sets herself aside in service of the family. But the playwright says very specifically in the play, in the book itself, that this is the prettiest dress she owns. And I kept referring to it as the prettiest dress she owns, sort of as a joke, but also to like really cement the fact that this is the most dressed up that we're ever going to see her. This is what she would wear to make herself feel confident, to get the confidence that Marisa was talking about a moment ago. So the dress itself is very simple fabrics, because again, they're in the Amazon. They don't have access to beautiful fabrics. It's sort of a little side plot, I guess you could say, of the show is the fabric. So one of the things that was really important to me was, especially because the show is short, is color blocking is a really great way for the audience to track characters, and we all have usually very similar correlations with what colors mean. Pink is the color of love for most people, and so we see Helena in lots of different shades of pink. And this is the pinkest that we see her, because there is big love confessions that happen in this particular dress. So the construction of it was, the dress itself was pretty simple. It's those little flowers that were I guess you could say an act of love. They came from, I have leftover fabric that I can show you. they all came from this big swatch of fabric, and I don't know if you can see them. There they are.
Yeah.
And so I sat, we were talking about this earlier before everybody joined. I sat on my couch and I cut them all out by hand, and this is what they look like. They get stacked two on top of each other to create sort of a fuller shape, and then I sew them all on by hand.
Wow.
And you can kind of see it peeking out on the left side of her dress along the bodice line. There's some lace that goes along the top of the bodice and also at the edge of the skirt, which we can't see in this photo, but if you come see the show, you'll be able to see it. So come see the show. But yeah, so this is Helena's prettiest dress that she owns, and I think Marisa wears it so well. And one of the things I love about Marisa that I noticed when we were going through dress rehearsals is she loves to play with these, the ones that cascade down her dress. She fidgets with them. And it's such an interesting choice because I had seen a couple of clips of this scene before they got into costumes, and there was no fiddling with clothing. It only was once the dress went on that she incorporated that into her action. And that's one of the things I love as a designer, is providing the actors with more tools in their tool belt to play with.
Or their flower belt,
Or their flower belt, yeah.
Oh,
I'm
that's
so
great.
glad you noticed that. I do it as a character choice because I feel like Elena is very still. She doesn't move as much compared to her sister. She's more set. And I feel like she has all this energy that needs to be let out, but she doesn't allow herself to do that. So I fidget with my flowers, and I like fix them because I'm just trying to distract from everything, just be like, it's fine, whatever. I'm just gonna fix this. Or like I'll clench my fists or I'll grab my dress. So it's a very interactive dress and it's perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah,
I
that
will-
was one of the things that John and I talked about early on. Actually, it might have been the first time that we met when we were talking about the contrast between the sisters, that if Belmira is water, Helena most certainly is earth. She's grounded in the reality of her world and observes it much closer than probably any of the other characters do, which was part of the reason why Helena gets this flower motif. There's also dialogue that Helena has about flowers being important to her. But given the fact that we're set in sort of a tropical environment and the lushness of the set that Ron created, it felt really appropriate that if we were going to tie the sisters to elements of the natural world, that Helena would be tied to the earth, to nurturing, to caregiving, to flowers, while Belmira is like the free spirit and has been encouraged probably more than Helena has to roll with the tide and kind of go with wherever her emotions take her.
It's interesting. When you said earth, I thought of this photo again, because there's something sort of earthy about it, the basket and the colors.
Yeah, this is the only time that we don't see Helena in her signature pink. Again, going back to the color blocking, you can kind of see Duarte in the background. He was specifically put in earth tones, in browns and yellows. And this is, Helena's got such a great line about how Duarte crawls into her heart and erodes her. She uses a lot of like earth-based language in the way that she talks. And so she talks in this scene about how she feels not herself anymore. And so it was important for me to service that for the character, that she is not only is there a biological change that's taking place, but there's an emotional, mental change that is drastic to how we have seen her before. She's being brave, like what Marisa said earlier. She's setting herself aside in maybe a way that's not great for her, and we can see it reflected in the drabber colors that she's wearing. Oh, you're muted, Becky.
You know why? It's because you were talking about muted colors. So yeah, no. I wouldn't have thought of that. The earth and the water. Water, of course. And I almost want to say a little fire for Belmira, but yeah, earth, I hadn't thought of that. That's really interesting.
I
Huh.
associated mom and dad, Mai and Pai, with fire more. They get the most vibrant colors out of everybody in the show
Yeah.
because they're so unabashed in their love for one another. And they kind of swap colors pretty regularly in the show. We see a lot of Pai's colors on Mai. I like to imagine that Pai adopted the colors that Mai wears because he's just so enamored with her.
I love that. I love that.
We're so happy.
You
Absolutely.
fit together so well.
Ah, oh, this is
And that
nice.
means that Duarte and Moises are air because they kind of roll with it, right? Duarte's like, I like you. Just kidding. I'm gonna marry your sister. Just kidding.
Yeah, sort of. I would say
But he rolls with it, and then so does Moises in a way. They come in like the wind and they leave just as fast.
If
Yeah.
we're going Avatar, I feel like Moises is like lightning.
Oh,
Right?
The
Because we always
sky, right?
hear lightning sounds with him anyways.
mhm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say out of the pair, Duarte is probably an airbender. He exactly what you were saying, Marissa. Like when I read the script, and then especially meeting Arturo and his interpretation of Duarte, Duarte moves wherever he is pushed. And his character talks about that in the play, that he's got a really great line about how things were set in motion and he just didn't realize it until it was too late, and he just gets swept away. He gets moved wherever is sort of convenient and easy. And so we see him mimicking a lot of what the other characters wear. Senor Costa is in stripes a lot, and we see Duarte trying to emulate that, not always successfully. Like it's not until the end, John and I kind of joked about this, his most Senor Costa-y that he could be is at the very end, because he adopts some of Senor Costa's colors and he's sort of full pie mode. Versus Moises, who is sort of this almost unnerving blend of water and air, in that he moves so gracefully. The actor that plays Moises, Ricardo, moves so gracefully in a suit of all things. It says very specifically that he has to be in a suit, and usually suits are very like awkward to kind of move around in. But he really does such a great job of it being like almost a second skin to him. It's like unnoticeable that he is in what would ordinarily be sort of a stuffy thing to wear.
This is terrific. Kailyn is brand new to City Lights, and you can see why we're continuing to hire her and bring her back and back and back for other shows.
You can see why I love her and why I love this whole cast, because they, like me, were down for all of the nerdy table work that I am always really hungry to get into. I'm one of those directors, and I was blessed with a cast and crew that was right there with me, ready to have all of those conversations. Like, what kind of bender are you? Come on, give me that cast all the time.
A lot of the staff members were saying, like, this is like the nicest cast. This is the nicest group of people. They just seem to work really well together. They seem to have fun together and nerd out together, which is great.
Yeah, there's a lot of love here. I think we're all homies. We all get along real great. And yeah. Good job, all of us, for coming together and doing this.
That's so good, especially since so many of you are new to City Lights, and you seem like you feel at home, which is great, and we hope that you will be back. I know Kailyn is coming back. Kailyn, tell us what show you're working on next at City Lights.
Right now I'm working on Kinky Boots, finishing out the season with City Lights, and then I'll be
Our
back
summer
next season.
musical.
Yeah, I'll be back next
Yeah.
season for other stuff. Very exciting.
Yeah,
I like
great.
coming back. City Lights, I mean, John was just gushing about how great the cast is, but we definitely need to give a shout out to the management over at City Lights. You know, as a tech person, it can be really challenging sometimes to work with management that wants the magic of theater but doesn't always understand like the realities of making things. You can create lots of magic for the audience, but you do have to keep in mind like the practicality that comes along with live theater, and the folks at City Lights are like well aware of that reality. And so it makes it very easy as a designer to be able to work well with the other design elements and to have such easy access to the cast. I've never had that experience before, to be able to just say like, hey, can I talk to this person today? I would like to talk to them about their character. John is great to work with. He's so easy to communicate with, open to ideas from anywhere.
That's all wonderful stuff to hear. Yeah, and it comes down from the top. Everyone who's been to our Zooms before, and you've seen Lisa Millette, our executive artistic director. She's absolutely wonderful. Our production manager / scenic designer / man of all trades, Ron Gasparnetti, is just a dream. George Pasaras, our sound designer. Okay, so I heard this thing the other day that I loved, that one of the audience members came out of the show and was concerned because she or he, I don't know, they thought that there were insects in the theater and that we had an insect problem. No, it's the sound design that makes everything sound like the rainforest. And I said, that is a great compliment for our sound designer. And I love the way all their visions mesh together. The sound, the lighting, the costumes, the props by Christina Sturkin. What am I forgetting? The set, all the colors, all the lighting. Yes, Spencer Matubang. I did mention Spencer earlier. They just always do a beautiful job. And so it's you kind of just get caught up in the whole storytelling. So those of you who are watching who haven't seen the show yet, run, don't walk, because you have just one more weekend. This has been a fast run, just one more weekend. It's been just really a joy having the show at City Lights. Before we sign off for tonight, yes, you saw it twice? Nice, Michael, thank you. I'm here, yes, awesome. That's wonderful. I love everybody's clapping in mute. It's like, before we sign up for tonight, anyone else have anything they want to add or ask? Sing, dance? John's got something, I think. No?
Oh, I was just going to say, don't encourage this cast to sing, because they will. Y'all show up like half an hour before the show starts. You will hear the talent blowing out of those dressing rooms.
I love it.
I would say encourage it. As one of the few people that's lucky to get to go backstage and kind of just be a fly on the wall. Listen, you got some pipes with these folks. They're very good singers. We've got a couple of them that are coming back to do our musical, to do Kinky Boots. So
yes,
sing,
Arturo,
sing.
Ricardo. Yeah, and you may recognize Arturo from last summer's musical, Fun Home. Oh, such a good show. I missed that show. That was such a good show. And I hope we'll see the rest of you coming back again. Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. It's wonderful to live a little longer in the world of the play. We'll be back in the Zoom next month. As Kaylin said, we're opening Kinky Boots, the wonderful Cyndi Lauper, Harvey Fierstein musical. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see what boots you come up with, Kaylin. It's going to be great. Thank you, everyone. One more weekend left. Break legs. Have so much fun this weekend. And everybody have a good night. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.